In China, there are some 600 million surveillance cameras, one for every 2 citizens, able to track people's movements down to the minute.
Every street corner, there's facial recognition, there's digital recognition, there's the social credit system. The social credit system is the sort of highest aspiration of the Chinese Communist Party, to have everything every human being does go into a computer system. And with AI and all sorts of other sophisticated programming, you can know exactly where a person is because he'll have bought something with a credit card or a digital payment system. His car will have gone down a highway. Every kilometer, there's a camera taking pictures of your license plate. They will know everything about everybody real time. This creates a kind of a techno-autocratic system that's unprecedented and with which we've had no experience.
Shalom. First off, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Achar. I want to give double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops of GMS who have taught us this word and teach us this word today. And I want to give a salutation to the hopeful elect scattered across the 4 corners of this earth, striving for salvation. This is the Brother Yatazak Bob at the GMS Nebraska camp. And in this lesson, what I want to get into is a follow-up from the video that I did yesterday, going into an aspect of the total control that these elites are seeking to bring upon the people on this earth. And in that video, what we talked about was going into how soon all physical there's going to be no more physical copies of games made from PlayStation. And by extension, it's not just going to be PlayStation, but physical copies of media in general is going to be a thing of the past. Everything is going onto a digital age, and what that does is that it gives Esau the ability to control media, to control things, because it's going to be on his digital grid. And what Esau is going to do is that he is going to allow people access to these things instead of owning these things. And he makes the rules on who gets to access it, how long you get to access it, what you access, and what you have to do to be able to access it, such as getting the chip for starters, to access these things that are going to be on his digital grid, from music, video games, and television, all the way into food and supermarkets. All these things are going to be on his digital grid, and you're not going to be able to buy or consume these things unless you are under his grid. So that's just to briefly cover what we talked about yesterday, but I wanted to come back and get into the aspect of the social credit score, because this is what is going to be the defining factor on, or a system like this is going to be the defining factor on what is or who is able to access these things in Esau's system. Because as we see, what's going on in China is that they have a social credit system. So let's get into China's social credit system, where it says China's social credit system is a vast national framework of governance that tracks, rates, and blacklists individuals, businesses, and government institutions based on trustworthiness. Contrary to popular Western misconceptions, there is no single unified numerical score for every citizen. Instead, the system utilizes blacklists for severe violations and rewards for compliance. While the Chinese government does not issue a nationwide numerical grade, the system fundamentally functions by combining data from courts, traffic police, and financial regulators to shape behavior. So what it's saying, and what we're about to get into, is that in China, there are different areas where a person has a score placed upon them, or Basically, you're being tracked and you're on a list. And what this does is that for each and every individual that is on the grid, it shows the government how compliant you are. Are you carrying yourself the way that the government wants you to? Or are you being disobedient? Are you being unruly? Are you, saying things that the government doesn't want you saying? Or are you watching things the government doesn't want you watching? Are you consuming things the government doesn't want you consuming? Etc., etc. And when we read, let's go down to this local pilot program part, because this is what we want here. It says, certain cities have tested personal scoring frameworks where residents might start with 1,000 points and have values added or subtracted for behaviors like volunteer work, traffic violations, or spreading rumors online. So with all these cameras that's within China, it's always tracking you. It's tracking your face. It's tracking your license plate. It's following you everywhere you're going. And your face, your license plate, your ID, your person is also tied to your online usage. So within everything you're doing, you're being tracked and you're being graded, so to speak. And it says, like it says here, spreading rumors online, what that does is that it subtracts points from you. And when those points are subtracted, it makes it to where, we're going to read it. It says rewards and punishments. It says high scoring individuals may receive perks like heating discounts or faster loan approvals. Conversely, those on untrustworthy blacklists, such as individuals who default on court fines, may face severe travel restrictions, such as being banned from high-speed trains or flights. So this is given a high level of control over people to where, depending on how you are operating within society, that gives you either certain amenities or certain penalties. And there's a very good example in the show Black Mirror of what this is speaking of here, in the episode called Nosedive, where everybody had a rating attached to them in society. And if your rating was high, then you were held in high esteem. You had amenities. You were able to, if you wanted to go get a rental car, you was able to get the best rental cars they had to offer. Or you could get, first class flights, but if your rating was low, then you couldn't fly at all. You had to get the old generation rental cars. People looked at you in society and automatically, had a bad image of you because your rating was low. And so what this does, with this control that's being given, like it showed in the show and like it's already happening in real life, you'll get banned from trains or flights if your score is low. And that's where this thing comes into where, with no more digital copies of games being made. This is what they want to do with music, all different things. Everything going digital is so that Esau can control it. And depending on how you operate in society is going to be who gets to access these things. And it's going to go off of your performance. Or are you operating the way that Esau wants you to operate? Because this is not going to just be in China. This is going to be worldwide. This is going to be Esau's new world order system. It's a new world order. And what this is going into is a prophecy of Revelation chapter 13 and verse 15, where it says, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast. So what is the image of the beast? The image of the beast is the the ideas and the the ideas of Esau's rules, so to speak. Is Greco-Roman, is Esau's Greco-Roman way, in the forms of what? Democracy, freedom of religion, freedom to, have man with man, woman with woman, change your gender, all these different things, these progressive ideas, this American way, that, this is the image of the beast, and it says that the image of the beast, so it says that he had power to give life unto the image of the beast. And this new world order that we're going into is Esau giving life unto the image of the beast, to where Esau's way that he wants people to follow, where he wants you to be aligned with his idea of how people should think, or what people should be okay with, or how things should go. That's Esau giving life unto it, to where everybody has to walk in that fashion. It says that the image of the beast should both speak, and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. So what is worshiping the image of the beast? What is worship in the first place? Because us, the hopeful elect, we worship Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. And it's more than just calling upon the names of Yahweh and Yahweh Shai. There's more to worshiping the Most High and the Son than that. It's the way that we carry our lives. It's how it's the things that we talk about, it's the things that we eat, the things that we do and don't do. The way that we carry ourselves. In all aspects of our life, we're worshiping Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. We're keeping in mind the way of the higher power and how the Most High wants us to walk. So when you worship the image of the beast, it's not that you're just bowing the knee or acknowledging Esau as your power. It's carrying yourself the way Esau wants you to carry yourself. In the same way that we do with Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, well, that's what Esau wants everybody to do to him. And that's why it says that many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And we went into that killing yesterday. Let's go into it again. Where it says in Strong's G615, apoktino, which says to kill in any way, whatever, to destroy, to allow to perish. But we want to get into the root of this Greek word, which is Strong's 575, apo, which is of separation. And what Esau is going to do is that he's going to separate you out of his system if you don't comply with his system. We see an example of this with Demolition Man, where you had the people that was living underground because they didn't want to abide by, that new world order. So they was homeless, they was having to eat rats, and they was living bad. But those who was complying with Esau's system, everything they was doing was tracked. Everybody was having to watch what they say. You had to wear what Esau wanted you to wear. All these different things. And so what this prophecy is going to look like in real life is that for people who don't want to be ousted out of Esau's system, they're going to carry themselves how Esau wants them to carry themselves. They're not going to speak truth. They're going to watch what they say online. They're not gonna, a lot of people who are in this truth are gonna denounce this truth and stop calling upon the names of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai and they're gonna fall away, because to be into this truth in a time of this new world order is going to be severely against Esau's system. Because we're condemning Esau and this system that he's establishing. We're condemning Esau and his new way that he wants everybody to walk in. But for those who are fearful of Esau and this system that he's creating, they're going to fold. That's why it says, Salakia, let me find it. Here we go here. This is Hebrews chapter 13, verse 6. It says, so that we may boldly say The Lord Yahweh is my helper, and I will not fear what man shall do unto me. And this is the mindset that we're going to have to keep in these times that we're going into, and it's going to take a lot of faith, because we're used to this system that Esau has us in. We're used to going to work and getting paid and paying our rent, paying bills, going to the store. We're used to, the different things that Esau provides that we get into in our free time, Netflix, Hulu, all these different things. We're used to these things. We're used to these phones. But all these things are going to be a part of Esau's grid. So we're going to have to let go of all of it. Ain't going to be getting no money to pay rent and bills. So ain't going to be no, paying rent and bills. No having no house. Ain't going to be no having a job. Ain't going to be no phone. You ain't going to pay your phone bill. Ain't going to be no, going to the store to get your food and your sustenance. We're going to have to depend on Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai to provide all those things for us. But we know that the Lord will. Something that comes to mind is the three holy children, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And Nebuchadnezzar wanted them to bow the knee to the golden image that he had set up. But they didn't bow the knee. While everybody else in the kingdom bowed, they were still standing. And they said boldly unto the king, they told him what? We're not going to worship your image. And that was punishable by death. And they was cast into a furnace for punishment for not following Nebuchadnezzar's command to bow. And what happened? The Lord protected them from the fire. And they was brought out of that furnace, and they wasn't burnt at all. They was perfectly fine. And Nebuchadnezzar had to recognize that the Most High was on their side. So again, reading Hebrews chapter 13, verse 6, it says, so that we may boldly say, the Lord is my helper. The Lord is going to help his elect in these times. The scriptures say, strive for the truth unto death, and the Lord shall fight for thee. And we have to believe that. So when the Lord sees our faith, and he sees us depending on our hope, and these times that are coming to where Esau's making it where, you got to carry yourself like this. You have to abide by my way. Follow what I want you to do, not what Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai wants you to do. Follow what I want you to do, or I'm going to shut all this down from you. When that time comes and we're still depending on Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai and not folding to Esau, the Lord is going to take care of us for that. We're going to be rewarded for that. So it says, so that we may boldly say, the Lord is my helper, and I will not fear what man shall do unto me. So I just want to briefly get into this, and come back, because this is an aspect of this New World Order that I didn't touch on in the last video that I think is important, because there's, this is an essential part as to, what Esau is going to do when he turns everything digital. Everything is going to be, blocked behind that digital grid, and for you to thrive in Esau's new system that he's creating, you're going to have to carry yourself aright. Walk in Esau's image. The way that he wants everything set up. And we ain't going to do that, because Esau's way is wickedness. It's contrary to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. So yep, this is just a follow-up to the last video. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. Once again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai Ba'ashem Rechak. I want to give double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops of GMS, and a salutation unto the elect.